Is it possible to be clinically dead and still hear voices, feel touches, and perceive everything that happens around you? It seems impossible, but thousands of reports from around the world challenge exactly this idea. People who have gone through a clinical death, when the heart stops beating, breathing ceases, and the brain collapses, came back to life with memories so vivid that science still struggles to explain them. They say that even with their bodies completely inert, they were fully conscious. They felt the presence of doctors, heard conversations around them, and some even reported deep emotions, such as peace, fear, or a strange sense of lucidity. Have you ever been through something similar, or do you know someone who has had an experience like this? Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to discover may change the way you see life and death. One of these stories in particular shocked even the most skeptical, and it is with it that we begin this journey. This shocking account comes from a woman who, after suffering a cardiac arrest in a hospital, was declared clinically dead for almost 6 minutes. During that time, according to doctors, she showed no vital signs. But what she told us next left everyone perplexed. She described in detail the lights in the operating room, the sound of the machines, the smell of the environment, and even exact phrases said by the professionals as they tried to revive her. How is this possible? Was it just an illusion created by a failing brain, or something much deeper that points to the existence of consciousness beyond the physical body? If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below with what touched you the most, or if you've experienced something similar. Reading what you share here in the comments is a fundamental part of this channel. That's how we create a network of real stories that give each other strength. And if this message touched something in you, leave a like, because that helps this content reach those who need to hear it. And of course, if you want to continue exploring these experiences with me, subscribe to the channel. Your participation here is what keeps this journey alive. But this story is far from over. The woman's name was Elisa. She was 39 years old, and she was rushed to the hospital after a sudden collapse. During the emergency procedure, she suffered a cardiac arrest, and the doctors declared her clinically dead. No pulse, no respiratory activity, no neurological responses. For medicine, at that moment, Elisa was no longer here. But what she said later challenged all certainties. According to her account, she never lost consciousness. She heard voices, but as if they were distant, muffled, as if in a room with cotton walls. She recognized one of the nurses by the way she spoke, even though she couldn't see anything. She felt her own hand being squeezed by someone, felt a needle, and described the color of the shirt of one of the technicians who hadn't even entered the room when she died. More than visual or auditory details, Elisa said she experienced a strange mental clarity. It wasn't like dreaming or delirium, it was like being awake without a body. She described the room precisely, including objects that were positioned behind her out of her field of vision. And the most curious thing, she said she knew for sure that she was dying, but she didn't feel despair. There was a silent peace, an absence of time, as if the clock of the world outside had stopped. But inside her, everything was alive. This sensation of expanded consciousness was what struck her most. Elisa was not a spiritualist. She never believed in life after death, and she always approached existence rationally. But after that, she herself said that something inside her changed. She began to look at life's decisions with a different weight, to value small things, and to seek answers in places she had previously ignored. This transformation was so profound that she described the experience as a watershed, as if she had crossed an invisible border between what is physical and what is truly essential. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because this was not an isolated experience. There are hundreds of similar cases around the world, different people, different cultures, but incredibly similar stories. Comment here. That makes sense to me. If this story also changed your perspective on what it really means to be alive. What is most intriguing about these types of experiences is not only the wealth of detail reported, but also the inevitable question it raises. If the brain was completely inactive, who or what was hearing, feeling, and recording all of that. During a clinical death, brain activity disappears within seconds. There are no measurable signs of consciousness, and yet, the reports continue to pile up. This opens an uncomfortable door to the debate between science and spirituality, and that is precisely where the issue becomes even more profound. Some researchers try to explain the phenomenon with hypotheses based on neurochemistry. They say that, in the last moments before total collapse, the brain releases a discharge of substances that create the illusion of consciousness. But these hypotheses do not explain how a person describes objects that were behind the head or conversations that occurred after the heart stopped. This is where alternative theories begin to gain ground. One of the most talked about theories today is the quantum field of consciousness, an idea that proposes that consciousness is not confined to the brain, but rather distributed throughout an invisible field, like an energy network that exists outside the physical body. This theory is still far from being accepted by mainstream science, but it speaks directly to what many mediums, spiritualists, and ancient cultures have been saying for centuries, that there is something within us that goes beyond matter, an essence that remains active even when the body fails. This idea is uncomfortable for many precisely because it challenges the traditional model that associates the mind exclusively with the brain. This hidden truth, which seems to emerge behind the scenes of death, has a profound impact on those who experience it. The way these people view life afterward changes completely. They speak of transformation, of a new mindset, of a clarity they had never experienced before. They no longer fear death, but instead become more aware of life. And this raises a question that is hard to ignore. What if awareness is something greater, something that doesn't end when the heart stops? Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because the reports don't just talk about perception. They talk about emotions, presences, and in some cases, encounters that go beyond logic. Write in the comments. I'm on this journey. 2. If this question has also kept you awake at night. During these experiences, what is most surprising is not only the fact that consciousness remains active, but the intensity with which everything is felt. People describe sensations so real, so vivid, that any attempt to explain them as dreams or hallucinations seems insufficient. Imagine feeling someone touching your hand, but without being able to move a muscle, without having any control over your own body. Hearing voices, perceiving conversations, even capturing the emotional climate of the environment, as if the heart of the person there was beating inside you. This is exactly what many report. Not only hearing, but feel the despair or hope of the people around, as if the barriers between bodies had completely disappeared. Some say they felt such a deep peace that they never wanted to go back. Others speak of a silent terror, a kind of prison where the mind is awake but the body no longer responds. And it is this duality that reveals the impact of these experiences. Because it is not a confused or fragmented memory. What these people experienced was recorded with absurd clarity. They remember the sensations as if everything had happened just a few minutes ago, and not years ago. Some speak of sounds echoing as if they were coming from a tunnel. Others say they felt time expand, as if a second stretched into hours. Everything seems clearer than in any dream. It is as if on that threshold between life and death there was an opening, a space in which consciousness expands and captures more than would ever be possible in a normal state. And this leaves a mark. Not just a curious memory, but an internal transformation. Those who experience this rarely come back the same. It is as if they have touched a hidden truth, which changes the way they see the world forever. Decisions become more conscious, relationships gain new value, and even suffering begins to be interpreted differently. Because once you cross that boundary, even for a few minutes, something inside you never goes back to the same place. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject, because in addition to physical sensations, many reports talk about encounters with something or someone that seems not to belong to this world. Comment here. That makes sense to me. If you have also ever felt that there is something bigger than what the eyes can see, Perhaps the most disturbing question these experiences leave us with is not, what happens after death? But rather, what are we while we are alive? Because if it is possible to have your body turned off, your brain silenced, and still feel, perceive and exist with total clarity, then perhaps we are basing our entire notion of life on one part of the story. Clinical death in these accounts does not appear as an abrupt end, but as a pause in the physical, while something much more subtle and profound continues. The consciousness, the essence, what many would call the soul, remains. And this changes everything. It changes the way we face our fears, how we make choices, how we view suffering. Suddenly, life stops being just a sequence of commitments and obligations, and becomes a journey of meaning, of connection with something that is not limited to the body. This transformation in the mindset of those who have been on the other side is not just emotional. It is as if a hidden truth were revealed. A truth that cannot be explained with formulas or data, but that can be felt firsthand. Those who go through this tend to come back with a different outlook. Decisions become more purposeful. Time becomes more valuable. Ordinary life, with its ups and downs, takes on the appearance of a miracle. Because once you touch this other plane, even the simplest details of existence begin to have meaning. A look, a hug, a breath. It's as if these people have seen behind the scenes of reality, something that has always been there but that only reveals itself when everything we consider concrete disappears. And when they return, they bring with them a silent but overwhelming impact. The realization that perhaps we never really understood what it means to be alive. The body feels, but that's not everything. The mind thinks, but that's not enough. There's something more. Something that permeates matter and continues even when everything seems to have ended. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Because some of these people didn't come back alone. They brought messages, encounters, revelations that seem to come from a place where time and logic don't work like they do here. If this also changed your way of seeing life, comment below. I'm with you until the end. If you've made it this far, it's because this topic also touched something deep inside you. And that's exactly why this channel exists. For us to reflect together without rushing on things that go beyond what meets the eye. If this message made sense to you, leave a "I'm with you until the end" here in the comments. This shows that this conversation is reaching those who really matter and helps this content reach more people who are also in this search. Take advantage and leave a like, because that way you also help keep this exchange that we've built here alive. And if you want to continue exploring this universe with me, subscribe to the channel. There's much more coming. By the way, there's a video here on the side that complements this subject in a way that you might not even imagine. Click and continue with me there.